Welcome to another edition of Woods for Trees Stories. Woods for Trees channel is created to explain the big picture of the issues at hand and not to get lost in the nitty-gritties. It means it is easy to get lost and confused in among the woods if we are inside a forest. But if we raise above the forest for a bird's eye view, then we will be able to see the forest for what it is. The surroundings, the landscape, the trees with the leaves and flowers, and not just the woods. That will allow us to navigate our way out of the woods. So this Woods for Trees channel is created to provide a bird's eye view of the world and the issues at hand. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you for watching. So this episode is about the so-called unelected bureaucrats of European Commission. We keep hearing these unelected bureaucrats, unelected commissioners making policies and dictating terms and creating laws, and the member states have lost their sovereignty, and so there's no accountability for these people, and they must be removed. But if you want to remove it, you can't remove it because you're not able to vote for them. This is a repeated accusation and theme from Mr. Farage for the last 20 years. I don't know where he gets the idea from, but that's what he's been saying for the last 20 years, and he still keep repeating himself.
Good morning and welcome to Woman to Suomi.
Thank you.
Nigel Farage.
Good morning, welcome to our show. Mr. Farage, what do you think about the European Commission today?
Amazing. All these countries, we joined this thing 30 years ago, you joined it 15 years ago, and we all thought we were joining a Europe where we trade together, cooperate together. They were the promises that were made. And now we find we have a European Commission, unelected by the people, unremovable, and they are the government of Europe. Most of the laws that are made in your country every year come directly from those unelected European commissioners, and what's happening in every country in Europe is the politicians are going in this direction, wanting more and more power, and the people are saying, what's going on? What's happened to our democracy?
Is that true? They are unelected commissioners of European Council. Well, in order to, that's not true, first of all. You have the decision-making body, that is the European Commission. That's what Nigel Farage is yapping about all the time as unelected members. We'll come to that in a minute. Then the Council of the European Union, basically they are the 27 prime ministers of each member state. Basically the head of the governments. And the European Parliament are elected by the people of each member state. So these three bodies collectively take decision. And they cannot be any more democratic than that. Well, anyway, we'll come to that in a minute. And these decision-making bodies are helped for guidance by the European Council and by the European Court of Justice. And also it's got other bodies like European Court of Auditors and other advisors like Economic and Social Committee and Committee of the Regions. So, European Union is very well thought about and well organized body, helping 27 member states. That is the reality of things. Now let's look into the European Commission, how it's made up of and how the commissioners are appointed. Yes, it has got one commissioner from each country, and they are appointed by the prime ministers of the country. So UK has got one commissioner, France, Germany, so everyone has got one commissioner appointed by the prime minister of the country to the European Commission as a whole body. So these 27 members form a unit called the European Commissioners College. and they elect a president. And that president has to be approved by the 27 member states prime ministers. Okay, and these European commissioners create policies. So they get together and create policies for transport, for clean beaches throughout Europe, maintaining the standards. They propose policies, and before the policy can be proposed by these European commissioners, they have to be in tandem with the head of states, the prime ministers. So the European Commissioner cannot propose something to his commission without the consent of the Prime Minister of his country. So it has to go together. So they are supervised by individual Prime Ministers or individual governments, and the Commission creates a policy, and that policy has to be submitted in front to the European members parliament, called MEP. So they have to approve the policy. So if they don't approve it, and it goes back to the Commission, and they have to make adjustments to the concerns, then bring it back to the floor to be approved again by the MEPs, member of European Parliaments. So basically, European commissioners are under the guidance of each member state, and they create a policy, and the head of the states has to be happy with it, and they put it through the European Parliament to be ratified. Once it's ratified, then it becomes law. So it's a collective process. No one person is in control of everything. No, everything is proposed, everything is agreed by the member of the parliaments and by the head of the each government, that each prime ministers. So they all have to come together to create a policy. So to simply say these European commissioners are unelected, that is wrong. Elected governments appoint these commissioners. These commissioners do not have power on their own. They only propose policies. That has to be ratified by the head of the states and by the member of the European Parliament. They have to go together. So all these three bodies have to work together in order for the European Union to function properly. So to Nigel Farage to simply keep on stating that unelected members of the bureaucrats, unelected commissioners all the time, and most of the common people do not understand how the European Union works. This is the most democratic institution that is ever been created in the world. There are so many checks and balances. Everything have to come together as a unit for it to function properly. To simply say unelected members, unelected commissioners, that is, and it's appalling.
I want only one thing, because we have European Parliament. You're a member of the Parliament.
Yes.
And how is this? Is it the democracy?
It's very clever. I mean, the reason for having a European Parliament is so we can say to the people of Europe, oh, look, it's democratic. Look, the European Parliament is the first parliament that's been created in the history of mankind that cannot propose legislation and cannot repeal legislation. All the European Parliament can do is take proposals that come from the European Commission, we can amend them a bit, we can delay them a bit, but the government of Europe is the European Commission. It does not come from the European Parliament. So the democratic element in all of this is absolutely tiny. And far bigger than that and more important than that is even when countries do express their opinion in referendums and say no, they ignore the result and push on. We're up against a fanatical drive to build the United States of Europe, and I don't believe the people of Britain or Finland want it.
An example of creating a blue beaches policy throughout European Union. So basically, the commissioners will come to a policy agreement, but that would be in agreement with the heads of the state, with the prime ministers. So the UK commissioner for Europe, he will not be proposing or supporting a policy which his government, opposes. So, so it starts at that level, at the beginning itself. Then eventually the commissioners create the policy, but that policy has to be ratified by the European member of the state parliament. And so the policy is put forward to the parliament, and the parliament votes, and it has to pass through by a majority.
The next item, resolution, is a resolution on recent revelation of high-level corruption cases in FIFA. Then now the vote on the resolution as a whole. Who is in favor? Against? Abstentions? Adopted. Thank you very much, colleagues, and enjoy the afternoon.
The policy becomes a law at that stage. So the heads of the prime ministers of each government are involved at the very beginning stages of the policy making, and the commissioners create the policy, and the European Parliament ratifies it. What more democracy one needs in creating this policy and implementing it? I mean, in fact, European Union is the best democracy that ever created in this planet. To say this is non-democratic and these people are unelected bureaucrats, they have been appointed by the prime ministers of each state, who were duly elected. And each government has the right to appoint whom they want to appoint as czars. So to keep on saying, oh, unelected bureaucrats running this European Union, and we have lost our sovereignty of our state, that is a blatant lie.
But Mr. Farage, if we want a good Europe, the powerful Europe, I think so. Of course, we're going to have some strong government, just like Commission.
Well,
what do you say about that?
Well, do you want democracy or not? I mean, you can argue for strong government.
Yes, I live in democracy country now. I think so.
I'm not sure you do, actually, because what we've done, all of us have done, is we've given away. No one told us, but we've given our democracy away to the institutions of the European Union. I mean, look, 75% of the laws that are made in Britain every year are not made by the British government, are not made by people that we vote for. They're made by European commissioners. I mean, it's an incredible thing that's happened to us. Our democracy, our freedom has been taken away from us.
It's a falsehood which could never be defended. But that's what Nigel Farage has been saying for the last 20 years. I don't know how, but he keeps on saying, repeats himself.
Democracy is democracy, and we must respect it. We must respect British democracy and the way it has voiced its views. That's the last time you are applauding here. And to some extent, I'm really surprised that you are here. You were fighting for the exit. The British people voted in favor of the exit. Why are you here?
Isn't it funny You know, when I came here 17 years ago and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you? And the reason you're so upset, the reason you're so angry, has been perfectly clear from all the angry exchanges this morning. You, as a political project, are in denial. You're in denial that your currency is failing. You're in denial. Well, just look at the Mediterranean. No, as a policy to impose poverty on Greece and the rest of the Mediterranean, you've done very well. I'll make one prediction this morning. The United Kingdom will not be the last member state to leave the European Union. So the question is, what do we do next? Now, it is up to the British government to invoke Article 50. And I have to say that I don't think we should spend too long in doing it. I totally agree, Mr. Juncker, that the British people have voted. We need to make sure that it happens. But what I would like to see is a grown-up and sensible attitude to how we negotiate a different relationship. Now I know that virtually none of you have ever done a proper job in your lives, or worked in business, or worked in trade, or indeed ever created a job. But listen, just listen.
Herr Farage, Augenblick. Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, bei allem Verständnis für Ihre Aufregung, Sie benehmen sich gerade wie UKIP sich normalerweise hier in diesem Haus benimmt. Also,
You're quite right, Mr. Schulz. UKIP used to protest against the establishment, and now the establishment protests against UKIP. So something has happened here. Let us listen to some simple, pragmatic economics. We, between your countries and my country, we do an enormous amount of business in goods and services. That trade is mutually beneficial to both of us. That trade matters. If you were to decide to cut off your noses, to spite your faces, and to reject any idea of a sensible trade deal, the consequences would be far worse for you than it would be for us. And even no deal is better for the United Kingdom than the current rotten deal that we've got. But if we were to move to a position where tariffs were reintroduced on products like motor cars, then hundreds of thousands of German workers would risk losing their jobs. So why don't we just be pragmatic, sensible, grown up, realistic, and let's cut between us a sensible tariff-free deal, and thereafter recognise that the United Kingdom will be your friend, that we will trade with you, we will cooperate with you, we will be your best friends in the world. But do that, do it sensibly, and allow us to go off and pursue our global ambitions and future. Thank you.